Hi everyone. This is a tutorial on how to play the online card game Meta that I have designed. Okay, so you should open up the link that you see up here. If the link is changed, there will be a different link that you will hopefully have from me. Okay, so this is what you should see in the very beginning of when you start to play. And I'll explain how to set up the game. So the first thing you're going to do is arrange the environment cards. So you can just flip them up here and just sort of arrange them out all in a row, going across. Okay, once they're all arranged, make sure that you alter the first and the last. So the first one should always say normal, so switch that up. Normal, use one, draw one. And the last one should always say and, so switch that up. Okay, the environment cards are now set up. Put these markers on the first one, and I will explain how these are used later. Okay, second step is to distribute the meta cards and the environment change cards into these decks here. So you're gonna, depending on how many players you play with, that you can sort of change up these amounts. But I recommend for now that you play about 10 to 15 meta cards total, so you can just sort of put them in their corresponding decks with the colors. It's about 12, that should be good. And then all of the environment change cards. Okay, once those are in there, you're now going to shuffle these decks. To do that, make sure that you use these little numbers at the top here. If you use this, it will not shuffle the cards that you just shuffled in. So again, always when shuffling within the game, use these cards. So you click on the number here, it'll do flip stack or shuffle stack. You want to shuffle it. So now it's shuffled. You can do it a bunch of times if you want. Same thing with this one, shuffle it, and shuffle. Okay, great. Next step is you are welcome to play the game with or without a starting topic. So if you play without a starting topic, you can just begin. You can just disregard the next few minutes that I'll explain. But if you want to do with a starting topic, I'll explain how that works. So basically, here's your starting topic options. I'm just shuffling this a bit. You can do it this way as well. Great. So what you'll do is you'll draw, each player will draw anywhere between 3 to 4 starting topic cards. And here's your hand. Now another player will draw it. When you're playing with multiple players, you'll drag something here to look like you're dragging it to the same place that I'm at, but actually you have a different hand. So I'll just sort of mimic that. Let's say that I'm playing with another player, so I draw another 3 or 4 cards, and let's say another 3 or 4 cards. Again, these would be different hands if I was playing with different players. Okay, so each player now has about 3 to 4 topic cards. Now what you're going to do is each one's going to pick one that you want to talk about. So let's say this is player 1 picks this card, player 2 picks this one, and player 3 will pick this one. So now they're all on the table. What you'll do now is you'll click here, you'll flip the stack. So now they're all turned over. Shuffle the stack a bunch of times. Then turn over the top card, and that is your starting topic. So you can go over here, type it in, compassion, and now that's your starting topic for the game. Okay, there are cards that shift the topic within the game, so that's just letting you know. Okay, So let's recall all of these ones because you don't play with the topic cards. They're just to begin the game. So, okay, the game begins by each player drawing one question card, one STEM card, and one semantics card. So I'll do that right now. Excellent. So the basic gameplay is you can sort of see here. It's described in the normal. Use one, draw one. So every time you play a card, you draw a new one. So basically everything that you say is essentially one sentence, and each card corresponds to one sentence. So there's no turns that have to be taken. You can go in any order you want. So I could go multiple times if I want to. There has to be somewhat of a small pause in between that, though. I can't just sort of like bam, 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 use my cards. But so yeah, I'll just sort of explain, I'll just sort of give an example of how this could work. So for example, let's say the topic's compassion. I could go, do you think compassion is a good thing? It's a rhetorical question. Most people probably think it is. So then I would draw another card here. Say I pause and wait, say no one else is saying anything. All right, I would then say, well, I think compassion is a good thing. Draw another card. I think compassion is the best thing in the world. Do you have certain moments in your life where compassion did something really important to you? 10-second pause. So again, while I'm doing this, other players are playing as well. It's not just, you could play with yourself actually, but typically you're going to play with multiple players. So I recommend having people on the phone. I think that's probably better. You don't really need to see each other. It might be too many screens to have another video chat as well. So you can just be on the phone and talking and using the cards at the same time. Okay, so there are some variations in the cards, which you'll see, the meta cards and the environment cards. So I haven't yet drawn one, so I'll just keep going until I do draw one, so you get sort of the feel of how these work, because they are sort of the main ways that the gameplay shifts. Okay, I'm just going to keep drawing a bunch. Okay, here we go. So I've drawn one of the meta cards, which says write in a new topic of your choice. So I would play this, put it in the same pile, and now I'd write in a new topic. So let's say I want to change the topic to something else. I would just click here, whoops, click here, and write in, I don't know, philosophy. Okay, and then draw another one. So I'm just going to give some more examples of some of these meta cards. They're not really coming up. Okay, here we go. Now I drew a change the environment card. Shift the environment to the right card. So this is a pretty important thing to go over. This is this basic mechanism of gameplay and how the gameplay changes. So as soon as you draw this card, basically you shift the environment to the right. So you can use this marker here. The reason why there's two markers is because this rule is essentially always in effect. You're always going to, every time you play a card, draw a new card. So now the game is going to, every time you do the shift the environment to the right, the sort of environmental rules are going to change. And this is going to keep happening until you go all the way until the end. So the first, I just want to explain some of these rules because they're a little tricky. I'll just explain how they work. So responses. So whoever changed the environment, all their cards equal ask a question, and all other players' cards equal give one sentence responses. So a lot of these change the nature of all the cards. So let's say this was my hand here. Let's say I was the one that shifted this. So all of these would now be questions. So I would be the main person asking questions, and I would just say, well, what do you think philosophy is all about? And then all other players, their cards would say give one sentence responses. So basically, this is a way of shifting the game such that the person who changed the environment card is sort of like the main questioner person, and everyone else is just giving responses to their questions that they're asking. And again, when you do that, you still have to play your cards. The reason why is that now, if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be able to draw anymore, shift the environment to the right, and the game wouldn't be able to progress. Okay, here's another example of a meta card here. So you and a player of your choice are the only players active. Ends after 5 cards are played. Just another example. So you can just sort through the meta cards if you want to see what they're all about. Everyone draws 2 cards, etc., etc. Okay, going through more of the environment cards. So together, all players play a card from their hand, and all players must only speak with these rules. All other cards equal speak. So for example, here I would play my can card, let's say, and let's say another player played their definition card. So now we would keep going, and we'd only be able to use definitions and can, and all of these would just be speaking. So I would give a definition. I would say, can you tell me something else about that definition? And then I maybe give another definition. And we keep going and keep going and keep going until we drew another change the environment card. And then you'd discard these ones after that. Make a new environmental rule. So you can make any rule you want. You cannot eliminate the drawing of the cards. Simultaneous, all players speak at the same time. So with this one, I would disregard turn orders, and I would just use my cards. I would keep using my cards and talking. So I would say, like, can you define philosophy? Philosophy means the pursuit of truth. Tell me more about what that means. I would begin humming. All of this would happen while other players are using their cards and talking. So this was sort of a cacophonous round. 2 at a time. So in order to be used, a card must be paired with another card. So for example, I would have to do something like this. I'm confused about philosophy, but a counterexample of something that I'm not confused about is rubber ducks. Or maybe another one could be, you aren't saying anything, and I'm observing that has been the case for the past few minutes. So in other words, I'm always using 2 cards at a time. Okay, next one, stuck hand. You may only speak using the rules in your current hand. Draw 1 card. This card and all others drawn equals speak. So basically, this hand is what I'm stuck with, completely stuck with. I can only ask philosophical, existential, metaphysical questions. I can only say, tell me more about that, and I can only give definitions. And the way that I do that is I draw 1 card. This card is not a how card. This card is just a speak card now. So then I would use this and give a definition. I would use this and maybe give another definition. Use this and say, tell me more about that. Use this and ask a philosophical question. Use this and say another definition. So again, everything else that's drawn is just speak. It's just a way to activate the cards that are in your hand. All cards equal speak. So this one is there's no rules anymore. The only rule is this one. Every time you draw one, play one, but you can speak using, you can basically have no rules that dictate how you speak. So I could just say, I think philosophy is pretty great. I studied philosophy for a few years. What do you think about philosophy? There's no order. No rules governing how you say things. Okay, monologue. Whoever changed the environment, all their cards equal speak, and all other players must direct their cards to this player. So similarly to this last round, I can say anything I want if I was the person who shifted this. I don't have to pay attention to any of the rules on the cards. And all other players now must direct their cards to this player. So if I was the other player, I would say, I would build on the main speaker's claims. I would ask the main speaker a philosophical rhetorical question. I would say we something 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 in response to the main speaker's thing, what they're talking about. Okay, and then after that, this is the last one here. You end the game. So a few other little notes. The meta cards don't change. So when these say all other cards equal speak, that applies to all the discourse cards, which are these ones, the question stems and the semantics. All the meta cards maintain their rules outside of this sort of the indications on the environment cards that say that all other cards equal speak. And also the environment cards, you might run out of them. So if you run out of them, again, they'll pile up here. Just you can just what'll happen is you'll get a bunch of them here. You can't really find them all. Let's see if I can find at least one more. Anyway, you'll be able to flip it here, so you can flip all the environment cards and then redistribute them in, and then shuffle, and then you'll essentially start over with a new pile, a new deck, and keep going with the game. So that's a way to keep going. Let's say you've run out of, because there's only 6 environment cards, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the time you get here, you'll have to reshuffle new environment cards in till you get to the end. Okay, and that is how you play meta. All right, hope you have enjoyed, and if you have any questions, you can email me, aaron.finbloom@gmail.com with any questions. Okay, thanks.